Station.
Okay, it's recording. Proceed.
Oh, we are Edward and Irene Kliszus. We are here at our house on Shearer Road in White Township, New Jersey. We moved here June 11th, 1993.
The purpose of our video, we're going to provide a short video-audio history of our lives for posterity. There will also be a written account with more personal details. We wanted to provide this information to you, our progeny, because three of our parents, Anton Kliszus, Elisha Aurahan, and Mary Aurahan, were born in foreign countries, and they spoke almost nothing about their lives before immigrating to America in the early 1900s. Bertha Van Savage was born in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and her short history is the most available. Before we actually begin, we would like to quote John 3:16 from the Bible as a guide to our life together.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And for those of you who never knew us, we are confident that God's word is true and we are in a better place. We're going to now recite what we call the begats.
Kliszus. On May 29, 1898, Victoria Yanulevich and Peter Van Savage were married in the St. Peter's and Paul Roman Catholic Church, 211 Ripley Place, Elizabeth, New Jersey. This was a Lithuanian church. They begat two daughters and one son, Mary, Bertha, and Peter. Mary and John Horry begat Marion, John, Edward, Eugene, Norma, in addition to two babies who died very young.
I forgot Dorothy. We forgot, they also begat Dorothy.
It's right there.
Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't read it.
Well, in case I missed the name Dorothy, Dorothy, of course, is one of the begats. Bertha and Anton Kliszus begat Florence in 1924, and Edward, that's me, in 1928, and Peter and his wife begat Marilyn.
Now the Aurahans. In Jilpashan, Persia, which is now Iran, Joseph and Shalom Yohanan begat Mary, Joan, and William, and a young son who died in the flu that was pandemic in the world in the early 1900s. Mary and Elisha Aurahan begat Selby, also known as Aunt Sylvia, in 1927, Irene, that's who I am, in 1929, and Danette Benita in 1936 in the United States. Joan and Joseph Jacob in Persia begat Joseph, Jack, Peter, and Julia, and William and Margaret Yohanan were childless. Edward and Irene Kliszus, that's the two of us, begat Irene, Renee, Mary in 1951, Edward Jr. in 1953, Laura Ann in 1954, and Amy Louise in 1961. They were all born in Elizabeth, New Jersey. We would now like to give you a walking tour of our house.
We're going to be walking around the building outside.
The first identification is our deck here. We built this deck when we moved here. This is an amateur video, don't forget, and we've only had the camera a short time. The first thing we want to show you is the deck, which Ed Jr. and Ed Sr., and I pounded a few nails too, built in 1994. This is what we call an a la carte house. When we moved here, we had to add things to it. It only had the basics. We're now going to walk around the house and show you a little more. Follow us.
At this present time, I'm going to scan from Irene to my left. You see the deck that Eddie and I built, and I'm scanning the rear of the property. It's a beautiful summer day. It's nice and cool today. There's the wellhead for our water, and we have approximately 1 1/3 acres of land. 1 3/3. 1 3/3. 1.3 acres of land. Sorry for the bloopers. Scanning process will continue by looking at the rear of the house You can see, and there's the garage. And outside we have our Dodge Ram Charger four-wheeler for the winter snows and for any kind of driving.
It's a 1990.
At this point, we're in our garage at this present time, and we're looking at one of our other cars, a Mercedes-Benz 450 SEL. Quite a nice piece of equipment. Right now, we're in the garage. We're looking at the Mercedes-Benz, looking at it from one of the profiles. It's in very nice condition. Amy and Majid were responsible for us to have this lovely car, and we do appreciate the fact that we have use of it. This is the interior portion of the garage. We're going to continue scanning the property toward the front. That's the street in front of our house. There's Beaver Creek down at the mailbox at the curb, and this is our driveway. And I'm scanning the front lawn at the present time, and the house is just coming into view. And of course, Irene is standing on the grass, and she's waving to us.
I'm now scanning the property, and you could see your great-grandfather or your grandfather looking at, just standing there looking at the house. We hope that
Don't walk toward me.
we hope that you enjoyed this. You see the trees and all the nice grass there. At the bottom is a little creek also. But we just wanted you to see the outside.
Picture the van. Turn slowly and smoothly.
And we're going to get the Dodge again. There's our Dodge. It was very handy in the snow in 1994. Let me tell you, we couldn't get out of here without it.
Push the red button. The side of the house where we have a nice central air heating system that Eddie and I installed. And I helped him, of course. And we're also looking at an antenna that Eddie also installed, and of course I was his assistant at the time when this production was taking place. Again, I'm just scanning the property toward the front of the house, and again, it's an amateur effort. And here's a picture of 123 Clark Place, the house that I was born in, and you might be able to see the garages in the backyard where my mother and father built these places. The steps in the front are still the handiwork of my father, and they're still attached to the house. And this is the place where I was born, and I was born of a midwife. I think her name was Mrs. Sarakman. And that's 123 Clark Place in Elizabeth, New Jersey. These are the two homes my grandmother owned many years ago, and 147 Clark Place is where the Horrys lived, and she was living in a building next door, which was 149. But this building was the original Lithuanian church here in Elizabeth on Ripley Place. Next door to the building is where the nuns lived, who taught students at the St. Peter and Paul's School here. This is the St. Peter and Paul's Roman Catholic Church, and of course it doesn't have the tall steeples it had years ago because they took them down because they were getting vibrated by the airport nearby, which had a lot of low-flying jet aircraft. And that's the place where the priest lives, and it was in charge of the school and the church in the area. Get the priest's name. What's his name? This is the St. Peter and Paul's Lithuanian Roman Catholic Parish in Elizabeth, New Jersey, from 1895 to 1995. And the priest that was here when I was going to school was the Reverend Simonitis. This is St. Peter and Paul's School, the Sisters of St. Francis, and I spent the first 8 years of my life in the school, first grade to the 8th grade. And apparently in 1995 they still have students here, and the school looks in reasonably good repair. This is another picture of the front of the school, and there's a bunch of children playing out in a yard there, and there's the church in the background, and not much more I can say about this place. I didn't care going to this school. It was not a very nice experience. Here's a picture of the Singer Manufacturing Company, and there's the first floor, second floor, and I worked on the third floor in a place called Department 40. Now this building is at this time more than 150 years old, and it is a huge place at the present time. But the Singer Manufacturing Company is not in this area anymore. But they used to own and occupy huge land areas and tremendous amounts of buildings, and had thousands and thousands of people who used to work here. This is an area where when I was a young kid we used to go swimming. They used to have a cold locks in the area down there, but I see all that area is all gone and torn down. And this is the river that I used to swim in, where I learned how to swim. And all our young friends learned how to swim. Used to do a lot of boating, a lot of swimming, a lot of fishing around here. We had a great time as kids. It's a wonderful area. But the water was kind of dirty, especially at low tide. Across the river used to be Procter & Gamble polluting the river, and a bunch of other oil companies located in the area that really made a mess of things, including the Singer Manufacturing Company that's behind me. But this is not a bad picture of circumstances today. And it's kind of desolate. There's nothing here. The beach, as you can see, is nothing but, well, just a lot of rocks. There's nothing too bad. There is an odor in the air, obviously from different refineries still in the area. This is the Benjamin Franklin School that Irene attended when she was in grammar school. The building is about 1925. What we're looking at on this side of the building is the gymnasium. Now directly across the street we have here a playground. On here called Brophy Field. And Irene and I, when we were kids, not knowing each other at the time, had quite a few good times in this particular area. This same fence is the one that I cut my wrist on at the very end of the corner here. I can still see some blood on the wire there. And we're on a corner now of on 2nd Street and Trumbull Street. 2nd Street and Trumbull Street in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And directly here is the corner of Ripley Place and 2nd Street. Or 3rd Street, sorry, all of that was 3rd Street. This is Bond Street, where Irene was born on this particular street, and it's not too nice of a neighborhood. And we're continuing down here on 3rd Street in Elizabeth, and just getting a shot of some of the buildings and the people that live outside here. I hear a siren in the back. I guess somebody's car is being robbed.
This is a picture of Greystone Presbyterian Church in Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Wait.
Presbyterian Church.
It's louder.
Where all the Syrians in Elizabeth that were Protestants, which most of us were, attended. You can see it's only a burned down shell now, but it was a beautiful church, and we were married here in 1949. They had a magnificent organ in this church also. And across the street from it is the public library, the downtown branch in Elizabeth that I spent a lot of time. We had a lot of wonderful books there to read.
This is Grover Cleveland Junior High School in Elizabeth on Loomis Street. And it's a huge complex, and kind of interesting. I spent the 9th grade here. And what about you, Irene?
7th, 8th, and 9th.
So she spent 3 years here, I spent 1. I came out of the Catholic school system and she came out of school 13. Now we noticed, but before we got to this location where we are right now, is that there were security people at the curb. For obvious reasons, I guess things are a little different in town nowadays. This is Thomas Edison Vocational School, where I attended for 3 years, and I learned to operate various types of machinery to become a skilled tradesperson in different areas like tool and die and pattern making, etc. It's still here and looks in pretty good shape. The people sitting outside apparently are students or whatever, a couple of girls there. There used to be a co-ed school although the boys were generally with the trade areas and the girls were with other different kinds of programs.
High school, Elizabeth, New Jersey, the only public high school for girls in the state. It is now co-ed in its own building. I graduated here in 1946. Sylvia graduated in 45, and back 1995 we're going to have our 50th anniversary for 1945 and 6. We are at the Mount Olivet Cemetery in Elizabeth, New Jersey, where the Kliszus side is buried. This one is Guivas. This is Grandma Victoria Von Savage's second husband. She was buried here with him. And Mary Horry, her daughter, is also buried here. She was born in 1904, died in 1940, 36 years old. She died of cancer. And this says Victoria here, 1882, 1954.
I might make some comments about my grandmother. She was was what appeared to me as a young person, a very nice lady. She was always very polite to me, courteous and considerate. And Mary Horry had 8 children. 2 of them, of course, didn't live on into 2 of them died as babies.
We are also now at the grave of Bertha Kliszus, born 1901, died 1945. There was a spot here for her husband, but she died at 44. Her husband remarried when he was 68 years old and died in Florida. And
at approximately the age of 82 to 84 years old.
He committed suicide. And his wife had him cremated, and that's why this grave only has Bertha in it. She also died of cancer at a very young age.
We're now at the site where where Peter Savage, my uncle, is buried. Lived to be a ripe old age of 92, and his wife even lived 80-some years, her name being Frances. And they have a surviving daughter, Marilyn. And there might be some other comments my wife would like to make.
Uncle Peter, it looks like, was the oldest according to the gravestones of his sisters. They seem to have died been born in 1900s already. He was a very, very nice man, very kind, and very friendly.
In fact, Pete's M.O. was one of really friendly kind of guy. Very, very pleasant person to talk to and have come and visit, and to visit.
Evergreen Cemetery in Hillside.
Louder.
Hillside, New Jersey. I'm going to speak loudly because we're doing some work here. This is in the National Historic Register for the United States. This is the graves of most of the Assyrians who came over in the early 1900s and established the first Assyrian American club. You can see Aurahan, where my mother and father are buried. The nieces were our friends. One of their sons was a valiant soldier in World War II. He was at Guadalcanal with General MacArthur and the Philippine Islands. He was at Hickam when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. We're on the other side of the gravestones now. This is Mary and Elisha Aurahan, who were buried here. Mary died in 1984 and Elisha died in 1960-something. We knew the Nisans, the Babas, we knew the Yates. Here's some Johannans over here. They had to be from Gilpashan if they were Johannans. And then we have over here other Assyrians. I don't know all of them. We knew the Bedells. We knew the Alamshas, the Piras. We knew this was Grandma Nisan who came over. My cousin Grace was the only one who had a grandmother in America who was alive and who we knew. And Ruth Yates was one of my contemporaries. And I don't know who David is over there. And here, Martha Bedell.
Well, let me scan this once more just to have the names on here anyway.
We're scanning the graves, what we fondly call the Assyrian Club. We always refer to this place as the club meeting. We used to meet on Sunday afternoons, but we have diminished very much in 1995. You can see, you point over here, please, sir. You can see these graves don't have Assyrian engraved in them. I have no idea what they mean. And they did have somebody engraved. The two of them here. You can see.
I'm only scanning the area. There's a very noisy piece of equipment operating now, and not much we can do about the sound. But
This is also a Protestant cemetery. This is also a Protestant cemetery. And Stephen Crane, who wrote The Red Badge of Courage, is buried here. The Cranes were very big people in the living. The yellow house, 429 Shearer Avenue, is where the Aurahans moved after they left Bond Street. They bought this house in 1948. That's it.
shut off the recording thing?
No, where's that?
Right there.
That's what I shut off. That's the only thing I pressed.
Okay, good. It's not saying record on it. Give me it.
You know what?
I gotta shut this machine off.
Did I do everything right?
Right.
We are on Caldwell.
Wait. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm doing it already.
Are you recorded it?
Yeah,
Right now?
yeah.
Oh, okay. It says REC?
Yep. We are on Caldwell Avenue in Union, New Jersey. We are going to pass the house that we lived in from 1956 until we moved to White Township in June of 1993. We lived here with all our 4 children. It's a brick house, as you can see, and the people who bought it improved it quite a bit. Very nice. We had a very nice time in this house.
Tell them that this is Mrs. Roth.
I pushed a button. Did
me
it say
see.
nothing on it? It says something on it.
It says record? Yeah, you're recording right now.